Ever since I was a kid, I've had a fear of deep water. It must have started when I was at my cousin's house, out on their pontoon, and they told me, don't swim where the lily pads are, because that's where the snapping turtle lives and he'll bite you. I realized then that under the murky innocence of the lagoon could be anything. There could be 200 tons of scaly teeth under there and you would never know. The open ocean is even more terrifying. It extends deep underneath you and in every direction, and thanks to the refracting quality of water, everything you see is actually way closer to you than you think. I imagine sometimes if you could see through the oceans, down to the bottom, like the Grand Canyon, all the giant life you could spy just floating there. Realistically, however, there's so much life that you would never be able to see the bottom, because your view would be blocked by it. It's scary, and apparently that fear is not uncommon. There's a word for this fear. Thalassophobia, apparently. And behind every good fear, there is not only an English major looking to expand our dictionary with nigh useless words, but also an element of excitement, and people have found ways to exploit fear. Fear of speed and heights are turned into excitement on a roller coaster ride. My Thalassophobia was turned into excitement by the 1997 game Subculture. It's a fabulous old gem. You were part of a miniature race of aliens colonizing Earth's oceans. Initially, you hunted for scrap on the seafloor. A penny was like a copper mine at your scale. Eventually, you would go on missions, hunt pirates, play this dynamic stock market, upgrade your sub, and explore underwater cave networks where you could only see by the faint light of your sub lamp. Subculture was really cool and masterfully played my fear. Sadly, there's not been a game like Subculture for a very long time. Until now, that is. I knew what I was looking at when Subnautica was announced as a soon-to-be early access game. Of course, the mechanics of gaming have changed, so a pure successor to something as aged as Subculture would be practically impossible and unwanted. The setting is more what interested me. Think about it. How many video games can you think of set exclusively underwater? And no, BioShock doesn't count. So, here you are, space adventurer, and your ship breaks down. Not to worry, there's a whole ocean planet to splash down in. So now you're in this pod, next to the burning hulk of your dead ship, and you have to survive. Find food, drinking water, and figure out some way of exploring this vast ocean world. You know how this is going to play out. It has all the mechanical hallmarks of what we've come to expect of early access survival games. Collect materials, catch food, cook food, make machines to make your own food, build sand castles. Subnautica is a single-player only game, which sets it apart from many of the DayZ and Minecraft clones that now saturate the early access survival game market. It loses nothing in this. I'm tired of zombies, and I'm tired of betrayal mechanics. I want a game I can lose myself in, just go off and have fun exploring and surviving in a world full of wonder. Subnautica could be that game. Even though this alien ocean can be deep and wide, and it's procedurally generated from game to game, most of the content is in the shallows, where it is most colorful and presentable. The aliens' fish species are really beautiful, and of course, occasionally dangerous. When in Earth's oceans, if we come across a shark or a pufferfish or a stingray, we know what to expect. If, in an early access survival game, we come across a zombie, or a zombie, or a zombie, we know what to expect. In Subnautica's ocean, everything is new again, and the discovery of not only new kinds of plants or an underwater cave system, but of new fish species, which might be benign or might be dangerous, is really exciting and cool. Usually, if the fish takes an interest in you, then it wants something from you, and that's probably your blood or your wristwatch. So it's not too difficult to tell which ones are dangerous, and there aren't enough of them where your discovery will be unique among your friends. But getting used to an entirely new ecosystem is still a blast. Getting into deeper waters is at the edge of their developing content, and is where my interest lies. Like I said in the beginning, going really super deep into the oceans has the same fear/exhilaration/anticipation as, say, going into one of the underground bunkers in Stalker or vaults in Fallout. You just don't know what you're gonna find down there, and you don't know what might be around you, lurking in the shadows. It's like running up the basement stairs after you've turned off the lights. You're trying to outrun the darkness, and even though you know there is nothing there that can really hurt you, you also know that you need to get up that staircase or else something will grab your ankle and drag you back in. Because you're underwater most of the time, your survival equipment is going to be focused on extending your time underwater. Air tanks, float bladders, spooling wire, light sources, underwater vehicles, up to and including this huge Nautilus Home Lab extended sea exploration vessel, which you can dock next to sprawling custom underwater facilities. Each of these features was released in their own rather substantial updates. At about the same speed as Kerbal Space Program was, the game is constantly being updated, and is still very much in alpha. The concrete in the foundation is still wet, as it were. Parts of this are rather amusing, like going deep, really deep. So deep that nothing approaching what we call life can survive. So deep that, yeah, I just discovered the edge of the world, time to go back. Some of it is not so fun, like some optimization issues leading to poor frame rates, occasional loss of equipment due to geometry bugs, crashes, save file incompatibility from version to version, stuff like that. Most of the early access games I have reviewed on this channel were both very playable and very close to a final version of what the game might be like when it releases. Subnautica cannot boast either in its current build. It's still a bit of a chore to play sometimes, and aside from being able to explore a vast alien ocean, there's no real direction other than unlocking the best equipment available in the current build of the game. Maybe seeing how deep you can dive, what caves you can fully explore, stuff like that. I think for some people it would be enough to have a pure exploration sandbox, but just being satisfied with that would hold Subnautica back from what I think it can achieve. I don't think the developers are going to make a world that you just explore. I mean, there is a giant burning starship on the horizon at all times, reminding you that you are stranded on an alien rock and that ultimately you do want to escape, right? That's the obvious endgame, and what will probably end up limiting the game's scope. There are no other players to play with, no AI factions to interact with, no stock market to play. The progression through the tech tree is fairly linear, and I can't see how getting off the planet or getting to some win condition is gonna be any different. There's not much more to say about Subnautica, at least not right now. I do think that Subnautica is exactly what this genre needs, a breath of fresh air after a long time submerged in copies of clones. At this point in development, it's not the game it could be. Maybe 6 months down the road, we'll see what Subnautica is capable of. Right now, it's a good blueprint, and if you like the idea of supporting a game in its early development, go ahead, pick up a copy. Take a look at what Subnautica might become.